Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session as a part of your medical affairs course. My name is Tanvi Ambekar, and I'll be your host for this intellectual evening. I would like to introduce the speaker for today's event, and I'm honored to call on Dr. Richa Goyal, the CEO and co founder of Dual Sphere Consulting and a former HEOR and market access leader across top tier healthcare companies. Dr. Richa Goyal is a seasoned life science professional with over 18 years of industry experience within the life science domain. Dr. Richa possesses extensive expertise in strategic planning, go-to-market strategies, market access strategies, pricing, launch optimization, and late-phase studies. Her area of specialization includes HEOR, health economics and outcomes research, RWE, real-world evidence, patient preference studies, patient reported outcomes, health systems research, database analysis, patient support programs, and providing recommendations for open label extension studies and post market research. Dr. Richa has also received the HBA Then and Now Award under the HBA Ambassador Program and was recognized as Asia's Women Leader Award as well. As a thought leader, Dr. Goyal has contributed to numerous national and international conferences and has been invited as a guest speaker on various prestigious platforms. She brings an extensive experience in cross cultural collaboration, working effectively with diverse teams and stakeholders across the healthcare industry. Welcome, ma'am. The virtual stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Anvi. Thanks for the warm welcome. Hi, everyone. Good evening on a Sunday. And thank you so much for joining the call. I'll just share my screen. Let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay.
Also, ma'am, I think you're the host. If you want, you can go ahead and mute everyone. I think there are a couple of participants who are able to mute themselves. So otherwise, it would be a hindrance for you.
Okay, so how do I do? I click on audio.
No. I think
No,
you'll have to stop sharing
I
once.
have to stop sharing once.
Yes.
Okay, I've stopped
And
sharing.
then can you check in the participants section? There would be a mute. Yeah.
Participant sections. It says mute all. Shall I?
Yes. Yes. I don't think I can speak after that, but yeah, go ahead.
So if somebody wants to speak, then I have to unmute them through the same
Yes.
process again,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Done.
Okay. I can unmute myself, but yeah, thank
You
you.
can. You are the
Okay.
co-host, right?
Yeah.
Then so you can unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's begin then.
Yes.
Okay. I'll again just make this full screen and I'll share my screen.
Yes.
I hope it is visible.
It is.
Okay.
It is visible, ma'am. Yes.
I'm trying to make it full screen. Okay.
Yes.
I'll just hide these thumbnails as well, right? So that
It's not visible. Only the screen is visible.
only the screens. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone. Today we learn about publication planning and medical writing. Easy topic. Very easy, I believe so. Okay, let's begin. Okay, few things from evidence to impact, strategic publication planning and medical writing, key learning constructs to understand the role of publication planning in product life cycle from clinical development through post-marketing surveillance. Explore the types, structure, and requirements of medical writing deliverables in health economics and outcomes research and real-world evidence, of course, in general as well. Highlight best practices in effective scientific communication, clarity, accuracy, consistency, and compliance with global standards. What is the meaning of all this? Why do we need all this? Examine the skills, tools, and quality processes that underpin high impact publications and value communication strategies. How will the session flow for us for today? Foundations of publication planning, strategic alignment with R&D, market access, and lifecycle management, medical writing in HUR and RWE, domain types, target audiences, and value narratives, Principles of effective communication, the 7 C's of communication: clarity versus complexity and quality assurance, practical steps and tools, publication management platforms, compliance, and innovation in dissemination. Key takeaway: transforming data into decisions through clear, credible, and compliant communication. This is what we learned today. So, this is a product life cycle, right from the development stage to post marketing surveillance. If you see the slide, this covers right from research and development strategy to clinical trials to pre launch market readiness to life cycle management, that is the post marketing surveillance. In this process of life cycle development of a drug, it undergoes lot of stages, and it is a combination of in vitro, primary, and secondary research. Publication planning or publications and manuscripts, they form a part of the secondary research. Okay, not only the publication, but there are various writing documents which come into play. And these writing documents are submitted either in the form of reports, global value dossiers, manuscripts, abstracts, and posters. Right. Let's say literature reviews from early planning to development of fact book, marketing material, health technology assessment documents, real world evidence and insights, network meta analysis. So, when we do all these processes, how are these submitted to a pharma company? We cannot submit an analysis or Excel sheets or a pharmacoeconomic model as such, right? What we have to do, we have to give them a narrative report which has to meet various compliances and standards. And of course, it depends whether the document that has been submitted is for regulatory purpose, commercial purpose, or research and development purpose. So depending on the end audience and usage, the standards vary from one document to the other. What is medical writing? It encompasses a wide range of documents tailored for different audiences. These can be regulators, clinicians, payers, patients, and internal stakeholders. And the breakdown of medical writing documents is as below. There can be medical regulatory writing, clinical trial and research documents, scientific publications and manuscripts, health economics and outcomes research and market access documents, medical affairs and educational content, patient focused and consumer health writing, internal and strategic documents, regulatory medical writing documents. These are generally for the regulatory approvals. Clinical trials, from clinical trial phase to phase 3, how do you submit these documents to the FDA? Scientific publications and communications, these are generally the ones which are submitted either after the research or between the research. For health economics and outcomes research, as I said in the previous slide, you have systematic reviews, you have medical writing, you have global value dossiers. All of these are submitted in the form of a written document. Medical affairs and educational content. The educational content can be for internal use, can be for the KOL education, can be for the sales force or the field force. Patient focused and consumer health writing. So sometimes we have to educate the patient as well, as patient as a king, right? So for them, some of the medical writing is used. And internal and strategic documents, to have your record keeping, strategic development, these documents are written. Now let us look into these documents in a bit of a detail, right? um, Regulatory medical writing, these are prepared to support submissions to regulatory authorities like FDA in US, EMA in Europe, and these comprise of either the clinical study protocols. What goes in a clinical study protocol? It forms the objectives, designs, and methodology of the clinical trial. Once a study protocol is locked, a study has to be conducted according to it. Of course, there are amendments and corrections which can be submitted, but generally, this encompasses the entire methodology of how a study would be run. Investigations process (IB) summarizes clinical and non-clinical data on an investigational product. Clinical study reports. This forms detailed documentation of completed clinical trials following ICH E3 guidelines. Then CTDs, common technical document modules, especially modules 2.5, 2.7, and 5. Briefing documents for regulatory meetings. These are used for advisory committees, scientific advice, or pre submission meetings. Then, risk management plans, RMP, REMS, strategies to identify, evaluate, and minimize risks. And whatever the regulatory documents that we have just seen, coming from industry, I can say a pharma company can commission you either one of those, all of those, and it's not like one should follow the other. You can have standalone projects with these as well. Clinical research and trial documents. Let's see what they are. They support the planning, execution, and reporting of clinical trials. This comprise of informed consent forms, where you take the consent from the patients or the caregivers for the study. Case reports form. These are the templates which record the clinical trial data, including the history and the outcomes. Statistical analysis plan. This define what kind of statistical tests will be conducted for the study. Protocol amendments. These are used as updates to trial protocols, of course, with justification. And all of us have seen COVID time, right? Those time were not very good. But why I want to say this, because whichever study was conducted during that time, majority of them have an amendment saying because of COVID this happened, because some trials the recruitment stopped, some trial there was a delay in follow up, in some trials patients were lost due to COVID, right? So majority of the clinical trials which fall during COVID time have an amendments to it. Then we have scientific publications and communications. These are intended for medical and scientific community. Manuscripts are for generally for the peer reviewed journals. They present the and what goes inside, they generally present the results of clinical trials, health economics and outcomes research, real world evidence, or systematic reviews. We have conference abstracts, posters, and slide decks, very important. uh, Before the launch, maybe companies use as a marketing strategy to create a buzz about their new product. Or of course, if the study, in any study, new results are published, okay, before making into a full-fledged manuscript, generally pharma companies publish them in the form of conference abstracts and posters. Then we have review articles and white papers. These are the narrative synthesis or thought leadership on specific topics. Plain language summaries, simplified summaries for broader audience, basically in much of a layman language, so that it is more understandable by the patients. Then we have HEOR and market access writing. This is focused on demonstrating product value to payers, HTA bodies, and policymakers. Global value dossiers, these are centralized documents to support health technology assessments. And AMCP dossier is again a kind of a value dossier specific to the US. Cost effectiveness and budget impact reports. After the models are made, the reports are submitted to the pharma company or your clients or the HTA bodies. HTA submission documents, they are tailored for agencies like NICE in UK, now it's CDA in Canada, etc. Then another type of document is medical affairs and educational content. They are used to educate healthcare professionals or support scientific exchange. Medical slide deck, generally for internal training, speaker programs, or advisory boards. Frequently asked questions and clinical question and answer documents. Prepare teams to address common questions from healthcare providers. Okay. Then medical information, response letters. They provide scientifically balanced response to unsolicited HCP inquiries. Then we have newsletters and literature summaries. These are periodic updates for HCPs, MSLs, or internal teams. Okay, another type of documents let's study is patient focused with consumer health writing. Okay, this simplifies medical information for the audience. Patient education leaflets or brochures, they explain the diseases, treatments, self-care strategies for the patients. website contents, health blogs for digital health platforms and consumer engagement. And then we have plain language summaries of clinical trials required in some jurisdictions to communicate trial outcomes to participants. Then other kind of documents include internal and strategic documents, right? Now what form these internal and strategic documents? They support decision making, compliance, and communication within companies. Scientific communication platforms outline core messages and publication strategies. Publication plans and trackers, how to define a particular target journal, what should be the timeline, target audience, okay, what should be the review time of the journal, what kind of journal should be selected. Then standard operating procedures ensure compliance with medical writing and publication standards. And coming from a my self-owned consulting company, whenever I have to sign a contract, let's say with a pharma company or a big consulting houses, they check with me whether I have SOPs for systematic review, medical writing, pharmacoeconomic modeling. So these SOPs, they speak for themselves. They kind of form of a guidance document that yes, we have the ability to conduct these types of services. Now, let's look at what is medical writing from the perspective of health economics and outcomes research. Now, health economics and outcomes research, what is the meaning of this? So, this means when you are looking at a particular drug, you are not only looking at the cost, but you are also looking at other parameters, including clinical outcomes, quality of life, humanistic outcomes, and which is of interest to various stakeholders like regulators, payers, and health technology bodies, clinicians, and sometimes patients. So in HEOR, the drug is not only evaluated from economic, but a combination of economic and clinical efficacy both. Whether the drug, if it is costly, how much impact does it have on the quality of life? Will that increase the longevity also? If that increases the longevity, with what score of the quality of life? All these things are taken into consideration. Now, key goals of HEOR medical writing: to communicate value, present how a product improves outcomes and whether it is cost effective or not. Translate evidence, generally to turn complex data from the models and real world studies into accessible formats. As I said, let's say if we are developing a cost effectiveness or a budget impact model, we have to give the inference and explanation and analysis in the form of a written document, which can be a report, a global value dossier, or a manuscript, depending on the usage. Also, it supports decision making, provide evidence that informs pricing, reimbursements, and access decision. When we say reimbursement by the government body or the private insurers. Okay, and helps in market access decisions of the drugs. So, in the previous slides, we saw the medical writing documents in general, right? Now, let's focus a bit on the types of medical writing documents in the health economics and outcomes research. Okay. So these are the documents like value dossiers, global value dossiers. So a global value dossier is submitted to the HTA body. Okay, for that, it has the amalgamation of clinical, economic, and real world data. Everything is written, documented in a value dossier. It is used to support formulary and reimbursement decisions to the HTA. Health technology bodies are the country specific submission bodies, must align with local guidelines for economic evaluation and evidence present. And in an HTA body, uh, inference from systematic review goes, from the model goes, cost effectiveness, budget impact, and it's an extensive report which is submitted to the HTA body. Then we have manuscripts and publications, uh, peer reviewed journal articles on maybe on cost effectiveness, budget impact, burden of illness, or real world evidence studies. Then we have conference abstracts and posters. These are the small summaries, and the focus is mainly on the visual representations. It has more of graphs, figures, and relatable evidence. Slide decks, generally for internal trainings, peer presentations, or advisory boards. Real world evidence reports interpret and summarize observational data, registry findings, or let's say there are a lot of claims database in the US, like Flatiron, Optum, IQVIA. These all companies have their own databases which can be summarized. Then economic model reports. They explain the assumptions, structures, inputs and outputs for a model. Okay. Then we have plain language summaries, increasingly used to communicate outcomes to broader audience in a layman language, including patients and non-technical stakeholders, making it understandable in a better way. So just spend a couple of minutes here on this types of documents in HUR. Moving on. Now, skills required if we talk about for HUR medical writing. Okay, strong grasp of health economic concepts. You should know what are QALYs, what are ICERs, quality adjusted life years, incremental cost effectiveness ratio. Uh, of, I mean, I know developing a model, you need VBA skills, maybe R Shiny, a strong command on Excel, but you don't have to develop a model. You have to understand how a model works. Understanding of clinical and regulatory environment. What are the latest standards, latest guidelines? Ability to synthesize evidence from diverse sources. That is a basic key for any medical writing, I would say. You will get evidence from so many sources, and you have to synthesize. So you have to have the ability to synthesize and analyze the documents from varied sources. Proficiency in scientific writing and adapting tone language for different audiences, right? We have to understand whether the manuscript is intended for usage by the KOLs, by the internal team, has to go for publishing for a broader audience. Depending on that, language needs to be modified. I can give one example here. One of the pharma company clients, they gave me a task. Like every year they have about 70 to 80 publications, but the commercial leaders do not have time to go through all the publications. It takes time, right? They wanted us to devise a solution for them so that they can just have a quick summary of all those publications, and then all those publications, and also compare it with the market standards or the competitors in a much shorter time way. There I had to use certain agentic AI and Gen AI tools, but yes, it is workable, and now companies are asking for such solutions. Next, familiarity with HTA requirements and publication standards. What is the publication standard as per ISPOR? What are the PRISMA guidelines? So these are the things a must have. Okay. Now, who uses medical writing? Medical writing can be used by a pharmaceutical company or a biotech company. It is used extensively by the market access and the medical affairs team. It is used by the payers and the health technology assessment bodies, CROs, consulting firms, and of course, academic researchers and policymakers. And all of them have kind of some similar and some different usage of a medical writing document, and their demands are also different. For example, pharmaceutical company, biotech company may want a publication for their data. Market access, medical affairs team, they might more want to look at the content, educational content. Pair and HTA bodies, they want the global value dossiers. CRO and consulting firms, it depends. They can have training documents, they can have slide decks, they can have normal commercial reports. Academy researchers and policymakers, they want more scientific in-depth evidence. Okay. Okay, so now we come to the other part of the presentation, which is there's a skill called communication, which is a must when we are using any kind of medical writing. So, what is communication? It is an act of giving, receiving, and sharing information. In other words, talking, writing, listening, or reading. Communication, good communicators listen carefully, speak or write clearly, and respect different opinions. And communication can be verbal, can be non-verbal. How? A verbal communication means when we use a strong, confident speaking tone. Very important thing, when we use a verbal communication skill, we have to be active listeners. We need to avoid filler words or jargons in them. Non-verbal, be intentional about your non-verbal. Mimic non-verbal communication that you find effective, like visual, right? Consider your audience. It can be a slide deck, other visual aids like a training document, and make them clear and easy to understand. Written communication, strive for simplicity, don't rely on tone. Take time to review your written communication. You are the best reviewer of your own work. When you write something, read it, okay? And believe me, if you are not able to understand what you have written, nobody else will. Okay, right. So take time to review, and generally it is advisable not to have a sentence for more than two lines. Just break it up in small sentences. Okay. Then of course there are other things like use active language, active passive, we all know, right? Use active languages more. Okay, so these are some of the things of make some of the techniques of making the sentences shorter. Okay. So now let's talk about the seven C's of effective communication. Uh, let's start with first completeness. Whenever you say something or write something, the sentence needs to be complete. Please do not assume that the person in front will understand what you're trying to say. Okay, make it complete, concise, least possible words, and the best meaningful way. Consideration implies stepping into the shoes of the others. Think about the thought process of others, the viewpoint of the audiences, what is their background, what is their mindset, what is their educational level, etc. Clarity. Um, okay, emphasizing on a specific message or a goal at a time. Do not get lost in between two three goals. Okay, make it very clear and communicable. Concreteness, being particular, right? If you are saying certain facts, reference it. Okay. Concreteness strengthens the confidence. Courtesy, be polite. Whatever level you might reach in your career, or you have reached in your career today, tomorrow, whenever, always be courteous and polite. And the courtesy level does not change with the designation, which means whether you are dealing with analyst, junior manager, senior manager, CEO, you should be equally courteous. Do not change your courtesy level depending on the level of the person or the designation of the person you are dealing with. Every human being deserves equal respect. Correctness in communication implies that there are no grammatical errors in communication. Please, no grammatical errors. Now there are so many tools available, please check on those, right? And self QC is the best QC. This is how I have learned in my career, right? That self QC is the best. I was very conscious, like instead of my manager finding what I have done, it is best that I do a self QC and do the corrections myself. Now, let's look at what is the meaning of effective scientific communication. Transmitting the message that is clearly and concisely so that it is understood. Clarity, accuracy, fluidity, and attention to detail. Your message should be clear. Do not make ambiguous statements. Use simple language, concise and technical, adhering to the standards. And a consistent message should be conveyed throughout. It's not like you agree with something and the second line you say you disagree with something and you want to confuse the audience. It does not work. Okay. Citations and references, based on the all the statements should be made on the reference data, should be accurate in the context of reasonable and scientific knowledge. Placements of references at the right place is and updated references is very important. Clear and logical flow. Flow should be clear and easy to use and understandable language. For example, which the section will come up in the next slides as well. Introduction, methods, results, and discussion. So whatever is a part of introduction should be left in the introduction and completed. How will it look if I include introduction in the results, or results in the discussion, or discussion in the introduction? Doesn't look nice, right? Then we have attention to detail. Very important. Okay, see that all technical terms are correct. All abbreviations and acronyms are are written properly. Okay, and nothing is missed. And if any abbreviation is used anywhere, use it consistent across the manuscript, right? Understand MS Word functions, consistent report formats. Now you have Copilot and a lot of other tools as well. Okay, then we move to the part, what is a scientific publication? A scientific publication, especially in the context of medical, clinical, or HUR field, it follows a structured format called as IMRAD, IMRAD. That's introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Right. But below is a breakdown of a few more things: title, authors and affiliations, abstracts, and keywords. Title should be clear and concisely convey the essence of the study. It should include keywords related to research, may mention a study design, which is very important. It adds weight. Okay, randomized control trial, a cost effectiveness analysis, and when we do a systematic review, we follow something called as PICOs, patient intervention comparator outcomes and study design. And it is preferred if you add those PICOs in the title of the study. Let's say a randomized control trial in patients with type 2 diabetes, comparing drug A versus B, okay, and measuring HbA1c levels. I just made it up, but preferable to have the PICOs defined if it is for a systematic literature review. Then we have authors and affiliations. Um, why do we need acknowledges and contributions and institutional affiliations? What should it include? Full name, degree, institutional affiliations, corresponding authors' contact information. Okay. Now, there is an abstract in the manuscript. After the title, authors and affiliation, there comes the abstract. It summarizes the entire study for quick understanding. Abstracts can be structured or non-structured. Structured abstract, it has subheadings like background, methods, results, and conclusion. Unstructured can be a one paragraph summary. Word limit typically 200 to 350, but it depends on the requirement of the journals. Then abstracts below also have keywords. What are the purpose of these keywords? They aid indexing and discoverability. Usually 4 to 6 terms related to the topic, intervention, methodology, and population. Why? Because sometimes when we are searching any particular paper, and if the keywords are indexed, your publication can come up, right? So for easy navigability and searching of the publication, proper keywords should be used. Okay. Right. So now let's look at the other parts. Introduction. It sets the context, explains the research question, and states the objective. What should be included in the introduction? Background on the topic and existing evidence. What is the problem statement, or is there any gap in the knowledge? What is the rationale of the study and significance? And what does the research aim, or what are the hypotheses of the study? Methods. Details how study was conducted to ensure reproducibility. Content varies by study type but includes generally study design, population and setting, data sources, how the data was collected, outcomes and variables, what were the statistical methods used, what was the modeling approach, if any, and ethical consideration, ethics approval, informed consents. These things form part of the method. Results. Presents findings without interpretation. Content, I mean, it is as it is, like you found. You cannot be biased when you are presenting the results. Participant flow and baseline characteristics. Key findings related to primary and secondary outcomes, which you will define in the methods. So what are the primary outcomes, secondary outcomes, and variables? These needs to be identified in the methods, and in the results, the results need to be presented. Figures, tables, more the better. Subgroup and sensitivity analysis, especially in the HUR study. So whenever I used to write a manuscript, if a particular manuscript is published in that area where I am writing, it's always better to go through the sample manuscripts. It really helps. Then we have the discussion part. Interprets the results and puts them into context. Basically, these are the summary of key findings, comparison with existing literature, positive or negative both, explanation of unexplained results, implications for clinical practice, policy, and future results, and limitations of the study, or concluding statements. Conclusion, takeaway message should directly reflect study objectives and results. Short, sweet, but it should reflect what has been done in the study. Declarations, disclosures. Any If the study was funded by any pharma company, any institute, was there any conflict of interest, any author contributions, acknowledgements. So sometimes we cannot give authorship to everyone who's involved. Then of course those people need to be mentioned in the acknowledgement. Data availability statement, like let's say if for some data you had to do some maybe available from other sources, that needs to be mentioned. References, citations supporting statements and backgrounds, these are the references. The formatting style varies journal by journal, that you need to check what the target journal that you are selecting basis that. There are many reference managers available, EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero. These are the most common ones. Use them. Then we have tables and figures. What are these? These are the visual representation of data. Each table or figure should be numbered and titled. It should be self-explanatory with footnotes as necessary. Supplementary materials, these includes the extended data, model inputs, technical appendices. Sometimes, in some of the studies, real world evidence studies, they ask for individual patient data. We call it IPD. So that also goes as a supplementary material with masked information about the patient identity details. Then any other detailed methodology, which may not have been written in a manuscript due to word limitation or any other reason. Then optional, plain language summary, required by some journals for open access dissemination. These are basically the simplified versions for patients, media, and lay readers. Now let's quickly look at the steps in publication planning. So publication planning, it's a strategic and a structured process used to develop and disseminate scientific and clinical data across various platforms and to different stakeholders. So as a consulting company, whenever I go to pharma, and or any project that comes for them, uh, tomorrow means yesterday. For example, they ask you, when can you publish the paper in a high impact factor journal, international audience, and it should be at the quickest time duration. So with all these requirements given to me, then I refine my search considering all these factors. So, first of all, we have to define what is the purpose of publication: internal use, external use, international audience, regional audience. What is the therapeutic area, product, or study does it cover? What type of evidence will be published? Whether it's a clinical trial, HUR, RWA, because why these are important? Because there are many journals who are specific for particular therapy area. For example, there are many oncology journals. There are many journals specific to the type of study design as well. Stakeholder alignment, very important. Engage. So, who is a stakeholder? Everyone who's involved in the project is a stakeholder. There are internal stakeholders, there are external stakeholders. Can be medical affairs team, clinical development, HUR. Ensure shared goals, target audience, and key value messages. Okay, so whenever you choose a journal, so generally what we do is we give an option of around three journals or four journals with their pros and cons, which includes their review time, impact factor, and a lot of things, and ask these teams to help us in zero down a particular journal. So that ways we have stakeholder buy-ins and stakeholder alignment as well. Okay, then we have landscape assessment. Conduct a gap analysis of published data, review competitive publications and Congress activities, identify scientific and policy trends. So, let's say if you search on PubMed for the similar kind of publication, many publications open up, right? And just look at the journal names. They really help you in identifying and selecting the recommendation of the journal that you are giving. Develop a scientific communication platform. Create core scientific messages aligned with strategic imperatives. Define pillars, themes, ensure consistency across all the publication types. You cannot change them. Of course, very important, define your target audience: clinicians, payers, regulatory agencies, key opinion leaders, patients, or regulatory bodies. Create a publication plan grid, which should include what is the type of publication, what is the topic, target journal that you are choosing, authors, timelines, ownership. So let's say if you are working on more than one publication at one point in time, having this kind of information in Excel so that you don't mix one with the other definitely helps. And then you can make other columns like status, in review, in process, accepted, being written. Okay. Select journals and congresses, match publication type with journal audience, impact factor, and scope. Align with submission timelines of key congresses. Okay. So whenever we have to uh, submit in a particular conference, let's say ISPOR happens twice a year. ISPOR US in May and ISPOR European chapter happens in November. So we plan in advance. So planning is always in advance, right? If I'm targeting for ISPOR May, which means in next another month, my team will start working on the abstract and poster because it has a specific timeline for submission. Consider open access versus subscription based journals. See how much the client is willing to pay. If it is a journal which involves fees, give that option to the client as well when you recommend them the journals. Author engagement and approval: identify internal, external authors, follow authorship criteria as per the ICMJE guidelines, schedule review cycles and approvals. Okay, so keep your authors or stakeholders informed at each and every step, because sometimes for the manuscript, the review process starts and it comes for certain changes, and generally those changes are required to be submitted in 2 weeks to 1 month, and availability of all the relevant people, stakeholders or authors is very important. So keep them informed about each and every step. Okay. Writing review and quality control. Draft by internal teams or medical writers. Ensure scientific accuracy, data integrity, and alignment with SCP. Conduct medical, legal, regulatory, and all the compliance reviews as per the standards and requirements. Next step is the submission and follow up. Submission to journals and conferences. Um, Track peer review process and address revisions, archive final versions, and maintain compliance records. Coming to, I can give you one example. So I have worked for a company as a publication support specialist in my career, and my task at that time was to simply find the target journal and to submit the paper on behalf of the authors. Okay, now you can ask, Richa, what was the importance of that job? Why was it needed? People can do it on their own. Now the catch was, the my clients were people where English was not the first language. These were the countries where those were not native speakers of English, and for them, creating an account in a journal was a problem. Okay, they used to commission us the projects. Other medical writers in the same company used to write the manuscripts, proofread, and to me, it used to come only at the time of publication. I had to create their user account, submit it on their behalf. For them, if a journal password also goes to their account, it was cumbersome for them because the first language was not English. And when you submit a manuscript, you all know there are certain steps involved. First, you have to paste the title, authors, abstracts, any review material, upload the manuscripts, figures, table, and everything has to be in proper fashion. Okay, so that is also kind of a job that I have done in my career as a publication support specialist. So, and I used to keep them informed about the timeline. In one day, I used to publish around 10 to 15 articles. And for me, how did I do the project management? Making this kind of Excel actually helped me. I know there are various tools available these days for project management. Use anyone. I do not endorse any tools because I find all of them good. All of them, it's upon the user acceptability, right? How you use them. But it actually made my life easy. Okay. Coming to the next step, monitor and evaluate impact, measure research, citations, downloads, altimetric scores, monitor publication timelines and delays, if any, review effectiveness of communication with target audience, use learnings to refine future planning. I know sometimes I did not do the record keeping, and what used to happen was I used to forget the password I used to create on behalf of authors, and I used to do forget password. And for somebody for whom English is cumbersome to understand, finding that email in like a needle, in a haystack, right? For them, they used to scold us a lot, right? So eventually with time I understood that I have to write the username and password, and for that I use the Excel. Okay, because I was handling multiple publications at one point in time. Update the plan regularly, reflect new data releases, study results, CI, and feedback. Maintain agility in publication priorities. Shift focus from clinical efficacy to RWE post launch. So be agile, be adaptive. The priorities can change. Never become too attached to what you are doing. Very important tip, in general, also, I can give you. It might be possible that you must have been working day and night on a particular project. Um, 7 days, 15 days, no sleep, no food, day and night you're working. And suddenly the senior management reviews it, and within 5 minutes they say it's trash. Okay, be adaptable, right? Do not become too attached to what you're doing, which means learn to adapt with the change and have the acceptance. Bonus tools and best practices. Use publication management platforms. Adhere to good publication practices. This should be on your tips. Maintain audit trails and transparency. Very important. That also I learned in my previous job. You have to maintain all the audit trails and transparency. When was this published? Why was this published? Because suddenly one client asks, used to send just one email, where is my manuscript? When will it be published? And then they do not wait. You have to answer them immediately. Okay, so these tools help in those kinds of scenarios. Some general gyan, skill development. uh, Focus on your learnings, be a learner lifelong. It's good to be specialist but have some generalist skills as well. Be innovative, have out of the box thinking. Advance with technology, very important, very very important. Common question: will AI replace us? No. People with AI will replace people who do not use AI. Start using these tools, right? I know many journals, almost all the journals still do not accept the manuscripts which are written through AI. Follow the adherence and the compliance guidelines, okay? But move ahead with technology. But there are other documents also where AI comes into play, right? Okay, another some quick tips. Best investment is investing in yourself. Money, time, everything. We all have our financial liabilities. We all have EMIs. We all have home loans and a lot of things. But upscale yourself. Read whenever possible. Learn new skills. Do new courses. What interests you? Focus on physical and mental health. Very, very important. Develop a hobby. Keep some time to yourself. Maintain a journal if you have a habit of writing, or else read through the emails that you have written 2 to 3 years back. See if there is any improvement or not. I know now that we have Chat GPT, but do have a look at it. Rehearse before any important meeting. I still do. And I take pride in saying this, that I come prepared for all my meetings. It still gives me goosebumps. I still get nervous before my each and every talk, but I overcome it. How do you overcome? When you practice. Okay. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Small progress is a progress, right? Trust yourself. You know more than you think, but do not be overconfident. Just keep on working, working, working. Um Hard work and smart work should be a combination of both. With this, I'll stop sharing my screen and I am open to questions, but I think I have to unmute everyone, or you want to write in the chat window. Tanvi, you are there.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. I am here from Climate. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Richa, for the wonderful session. And yes, guys, we are open for question and answer session. Please put your question into the chat box or simply unmute yourself and ask.
I think I need to unmute them. I muted them
Yes,
all.
yes, Dr. Richa, you can just click on the participants
Huh?
and there will be the unmute option. Give them the access.
I think it's already there. Allow participants. They are already on. They can simply unmute themselves from the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, do you have question? Please put it in the chat box or simply unmute yourself and ask.
Please don't feel shy. No question is big or small.
Yes, please. No questions?
I don't know whether you understood or did not. I mean, how will I come to know? Right.
Of
So
course, that's
I think it's a Sunday evening and everyone.
right.
Yeah.
But that
Uh,
was wonderful session, ma'am. That was wonderful session by you.
Hi,
And
hi.
that was
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
My good name is Preetham. Hi, Richa.
Hi, Pritam.
So I'm sorry. It was just a closing thing. Yeah, this is a very good presentation.
Pritam, I'm not able to hear you. I'm sorry. Maybe you can type. Uh,
I'm very bad at typing, so that's why. Not a problem, not a problem. I was just asking the group. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, you are audible. You are audible now.
Okay. The thing is that this is a site of uh, basically life cycle of a, not a life cycle, but a process flow of a publication. And in medical affairs, there are a lot of publications I can understand, but how does it impact the whole medical affairs group? When you are when we are the sponsor and we are in-house medical affairs team, so publication, knowing a publication and understanding the tidbits of a publication, how will it help in the whole domain of medical affairs? I know it can be very vague question, but just a thought.
It can be, I mean, in a number of ways. Let's say if you have an kind of an interdepartment conversation with different departments, knowing the know-how of your product, it definitely helps. Again, if I say if you are interacting with KOLs, Pritam, okay, then of course, if you have to give them any educational content, it helps there. If you're talking to your Salesforce team, okay, again, it will help you to train them. If you're talking to patients, then you can have a simplified version and relate to the patients. So Pritam, I would say for a medical affairs team with various audiences that you deal with, it has its different connotations. This is what has been my discussion with various medical affairs teams as well. Like, I'm based in Singapore, right? And I meet a lot of people in medical affairs, the medical affairs heads from various pharma companies. And for them also, I gather the similar kind of information that for them it is basically which team or department they are dealing with, they use the publication in that way.
Thanks. So thank you for sure answering the question. Thank you so much.
Thanks Pritam.
Any more question, guys?
If there are any questions, please reach out on LinkedIn. We all are very
Yes.
yeah, yeah, we can
Okay,
be
I think, ma'am,
reached.
there is no more questions.
Okay.
And we can end the session. But before ending, I truly appreciate and thank you for the wonderful delivery and the practical insights on the medical affairs. I think that
I
is
just
very
try to
important.
bring out my experience so that the mistakes or the challenges that I faced, nobody else faces. That's the only intent.
Yes, yes, that was wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening ahead. Bye bye. Have a wonderful week. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.